Okay, I'd like to invite everyone to stand, please. Pledge of the flag. Okay, welcome everyone to the first meeting in October. Seems like we've been away for a little while here. But our work is still moving forward. Minutes of September 20th. We have a motion to approve the minutes of September 20th. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Financial report and payment of the bills. We have a motion. Second. And a second. And Steve, you mentioned that we're going to get the new software. We'll have the.
Yes, we're kind of in between right now. We've shut down the old and we're implementing the new. That will be the next meeting.
Well, I guess my question is, should we even vote on anything at this point?
You should vote to
Well,
pay the bills.
Yeah, I mean, and some bills have been paid electronically. You
I
don't
think
rely
so
on the
too.
new.
We really didn't get a report this month, and we're going through a new software change, but I absolutely agree, we gotta pay the bills. So we had a motion to pay the bills and a second to pay the bills, and any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, Lou, you are on.
Okay, the first item I have is this amended and restated declaration. On the August 16th, the board adopted resolution R10 2023 that amended the RMA, which is the method by which special taxes are collected from properties within the special taxing district of Southfields. Since that amendment or that resolution adopted an amended version of the RMA, then a new declaration has to be, it's actually been prepared by council, but it needs to be approved by the board and reported. That way all property owners know what their real special taxes are going to be for living in that special taxing district. So I recommend that the board pass the amended and restated declaration that was prepared by Whiteford, Taylor, and Preston.
Do we have a motion to approve the amended and restated declaration? Southfield Special Taxing District. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? I can tell the board that it's I can almost see there'll be an amended here soon, but let's keep the ball moving forward. All in favor? Motion carried.
Yeah, this pertains to just the properties within that area of Southfields.
Yeah, I guess where the comment I probably should make, I met with Gene Minner, and I had met with Ryan Humphreys from Southfields, and they had some additional vacant land across the street that they'd like to bring into the PUD at some point. I think they have to go through the process. So that's where I was getting at with this, because I think if it goes into the PUD, wouldn't it should go into the special taxing district.
I don't know if that's included under special taxing district. If the district has to be amended by resolution and the RMA is amended again, that'll delay that project.
Yeah, I think, well, maybe they're delaying, but I think what it'll do is if they add additional land, it would bring the cost of special taxing to the other people down, I think. But I don't want to stir up the hornet's nest per se, but that's why I was saying I think there'll be an amended and restated declaration at some point, but they're not even ready for that yet.
Might be a number of
I know.
amended and restated.
I think so. Thank you, Lou. Next up is ordinance 5-2023.
This is up for adoption of the water and sewer rates that were introduced at the last meeting.
So we introduced the water and sewer rates, and under these water and sewer rates, which were introduced, it would be resolution or ordinance 5-2023. do we have a motion to approve the ordinance 5-2023 water and sewer rates presented for adoption? Anyone want to make that motion? We got a motion. Yeah, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it for discussion purposes. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on water and sewer rates?
The newspaper, I believe, discussed it somewhat. I know when we had the, ceremony out there to, shoot, a guy politely walked up to you and asked you about it, and I thought that was a good conversation. But I think a lot of people who are seeing these don't really understand. All they see is that money is going up. Not money's going up, but, you know, what's happening in terms of price, and it's going up. Sometimes it's always nice that you actually know, and I don't know in what instance you could put a person in that vehicle to say this is the reason why. Because it's still a lot of, well, the misunderstandings going forward, which is natural, but it's always nice to know why is this happening, put it that way.
Well, I would say that the best I could surmise is that our water and sewer operator rates have increased to operate the plant. I think it was, I think that number was
50%,
about 50%.
right,
For them to operate our plants. The artesian rate, which we have to get our secondary supply from, which we have to purchase 250,000 gallons a day from, went up. What was that number?
13%.
About 13%. And then a cost of salaries associated with it has been the biggest factor in increasing this. Now, I will also say that I'll take fault or blame here that I encouraged the board, along with my fellow council, to give a decrease in water rates and sewer rates. So 8 years ago, we had a study that was done that showed that we should be increasing our water and sewer rates every year. And we didn't really want to agree with those studies. We wanted to, we had a lot of money in our water fund and in our sewer fund. And the belief was, let's use that additional money in that water fund and sewer fund to offset the rates for our residents. And we gave an 11% decrease. I believe it was 8 years ago on the water side, and I think it was 7 years ago or 6 years ago on the sewer side. The bad part of all this is that the artesian rate, which now has an increase of $4 and what's that number, Steve?
Well, the 13% increase on their rate,
I think it's 14 or $4
60 something cents per
I think it's
thousand.
$4.61 per thousand. We charge our residents $4.01 per thousand. And so you can see on basically every 1,000 gallons that we're selling, the town of Elkton has been going the wrong way with the filling back up the reserves.
Right.
And it'll never fill up when you're losing money on every 1,000 gallons. It's the situation will constantly, continually get worse, and we would deplete every dollar we have in the water and sewer fund. As much as I hate to say, I hate to do it, because you're looking at 5 of us up here to have to pay the water and sewer rates, and it hurts our families, it hurts your families. But it really has to be done. And if it wasn't, we've got these new developments that are coming on board, and they're going to come on in a massive way with this robust growth. And guess what that means? Robust loss of money if you don't get your rates corrected. And I think we've gone as long as we could for our residents of our town. I think that we have to do it. So my little thought and theory behind it. I hope I covered everything.
No, I think you explained.
Rob, that's a great explanation. For those of us that are in the room, I would love to find a way to get that message out to the general public, because this is a hot topic lately. And I think we're all getting approached on it. They don't, they don't understand completely, what has happened, what's involved, and the fact that we're raising them on ourselves as well.
Mhm.
But I really wish that we could get, the word out to the citizens, the why and how this happened, and it needed to happen.
I think,
And and you may not get it to all citizens, it's just that as Rob gave his spiel of it, that all five of us as well who are behind it, and we all speak in the same language.
Yeah.
It's not like one's gonna say one thing and four's gonna say something else. We speak the same language.
it's the exact same. I mean, it's, just, I don't like it. It is what it is, and it's a cost of doing business. Now, the one thing that I will say, even though you're gonna see an increase, a dramatic increase in your water and sewer, I still feel we're one of the lowest in the state of Maryland. How crazy is that? I mean, when you look at the county, I did the numbers, here, I think the town of Northeast was over $10 per 1,000 gallons, the town of Northeast. And, we're still only gonna be at, let me tell you the number. Got it right here, we're gonna be at, $5.41 per 1,000 gallons. So we're still dramatically lower than anyone else, but, do I want to say that's good? No, it's not good because we got to raise it. So, but I want the residents of the town to know that you're still getting a pretty good darn value for the water and sewer. So we had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. I vote no. Opposed. So we had 4-1, and I want to make sure that, everyone knows we're all voted no. All right, the next one, ordinance 7-2023, amending the code of town of Elkton, article 8.04, trash and recyclables, collection and disposal, presented for.
Adoption, this simply amends the town charter that recognizes the collection of recyclables and the method by which we're doing it. It's kind of an antiquated, description of what we do in the current code. So this amends that. That's all. Anything to the floor?
Okay, do we have a motion to, accept the, new language? Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm sure if you sign this, does he sign this if it's nay?
Yeah, there's a piece there that asks for, voting against.
You'll see the vote against it. It's saying nay. Okay, Lou, next.
This is the waiver agreement for D.R. Horton. It was, developed, 2 years ago, but never executed. Actually, the board approved it on March 3rd, 2021 to include 334 units, but, since that time, due to the, restrictions of density in the critical area, the number of houses to be built on those sections mentioned here is only 303 houses, not 334. So it matters with the board about extending this agreement and or providing this agreement under the terms that it's amending those number of units. And I think Gene Minner is back there and can't wait to explain if there's any questions about how the
Gene, you look excited.
got
Tell us
through
about
today.
The town board waived some hookups over 2 years ago for D.R. Horton, and I guess they were going to move forward on the Southfield side. They're still moving forward on the Southfield side. I spoke to John earlier today. He was copied in on the and I had a question of whether we should or we shouldn't even touch the language. So I was asking you, can you tell the board your opinion or what you're thinking or?
Sure.
am
I mean, the numbers are what they are. There's not any question about that. But, I think if you look at paragraph 5 of this agreement, it says developer agrees to comply with all applicable building regulations in effect pertaining to the construction of single-family homes. That is one of those building regulations. I mean, they're not gonna be able to build 334, they're gonna be able to build 303. Right. So, I mean, I think paragraph 5 anticipates changes in laws pertaining to building. And, I mean, it may change 3 more times in the next few years. And it doesn't mean you have to come back and amend this thing and re-vote on it. The town has already voted on this. It was properly noticed, came up before the mayor and commissioners. There was a motion, a second, discussion, and a vote. You guys voted, and that was the vote. So, we can have a separate discussion as to whether you need this agreement. I don't think it does anything. I don't think we need their signature in order for your vote and your ordinance to become effective. And all this says to them is they have to follow the rules. So I don't think you need to do anything today.
I understand why there's no need to change the number. Because of having to comply to what's allowed to be done.
Right.
But do I misunderstand? You don't think this had to be signed?
No. By either side.
So you're saying by when we voted on it, look at you, how do you feel? I mean, tell us.
I wouldn't give legal advice to the jury.
Well, mine is.
Yeah,
You don't,
you give you legal advice, not me.
So when
It's
we
not
voted on
available.
it on March 3rd, 2023, you're saying that.
If you,
21.
21.
if you kind of go back and look at like
That's good.
contract discussions, negotiations, and entry of a contract, you typically have, consideration on both sides of the transaction. This really wasn't that kind of a transaction. You guys just agreed to grant the waiver on those units. What did they grant to the town? Nothing. So it's not like a two-sided transaction. I'm not suggesting that you don't comply with it. I mean, I think you already made that decision. You already voted on it.
Right.
That's a done deal. And you can sign it, there's probably no harm done, but then the question is, do you have to come back every time the 303 now changes to 305 and then to 307 and then 198 and it's all. I don't think you need this as an agreement. Just comply with what you already decided.
Okay, and this isn't transferable, is it?
No.
So if DR hardware back out, and a different developer would have been in,
No good?
no good.
No good.
We don't plan to do that.
That's good, that's good.
And I'm not trying to pull the pin and throw the
Yeah,
grenade. I mean, I'm just saying,
It's all covered.
it's all
in
done.
The minutes of a meeting, is what you're telling.
Properly before the mayor and commissioners, the vote was properly conducted and
Okay,
done,
so
you
what-
made a
If
decision.
we voted on the document, is the document part of the minutes of that meeting?
Yes,
The entire document?
but the unsigned document is placed in the record of the minutes,
Okay.
May 3rd or March
Okay.
3rd.
Okay. Yeah, it's gotta read somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just in the vote.
And Bill, I normally don't do this, but I will give you the floor if you had a comment.
Just a question. So can that document then be forwarded to PR order to be included in their contract?
It was sent yesterday.
Okay. Answer my question.
There you go.
Don't-
All right, so you're thinking no action is no, we don't have to do any action.
Correct. Correct.
Gene?
My only question is, since there's a specific number of units mentioned, that's not a promise that there is a waiver for that many units regardless of.
Well, I'm kind of, if you look at the word of this so-called agreement, it says the developer agrees to comply with all applicable building regulations. Now, you either assume that they didn't intend to apply or to comply with the applicable building regulations, which is, I think, silly. I mean, we assume that they are going to, they're going to have to. And when they comply with those regulations, they can only build 303.
Well, I guess my question is, if the PUD is expanded, or if D.R. Horton intends to build additional housing, are they under the impression that this is granted for a certain number of units and it's already allocated so that they can?
I'm sorry, John.
What they-
It calls
It
out-
specifies the parcels.
Exactly, it calls out very specifically the parcels.
That's Suzie one.
Correct.
Yeah,
Very good.
I just think I think you're good to go.
Thank you. You guys feel comfortable with it? Good. All right, reports, I have nothing to report. I'm gonna pass it on to Rob with that.
I've got nothing this week.
I do have something, but, go ahead, Earl, anything to report? Charles?
We had a concern, I think everybody, got whipped of it. I guess there was some children, teenagers coming out to Lansing Village. I guess Gene and I brought concerns, I guess specifically because people had called us on separate occasions. And I spoke to Lois and, he was under agreement that there's not much we can do to add on, playground or anything like that because it was done previously and kids did not do well, but it's had to be taken down. I guess basically we were trying to come up with how we prevent that from happening. I know we have a law, a rule that basically if it's up, obviously let it go there and take it down. You can speak on that or anybody else?
Yeah, it was on my list. I mean, I understand what happened, like, this was discussed, I guess, with a manager's meeting. Well,
Yes,
I'm just wondering if any solutions were offered or any information to the chief, and I'm sorry to see that she's not here. I mean, I understand that the playground equipment was destroyed, but this isn't playground equipment that we were requesting. We were requesting just a section of an area that they could play basketball on, put their hoops on, their portable hoops, you know, instead of in the street. So can you explain?
we didn't discuss that. We didn't discuss it because we wouldn't have a specific location or a price to do it. We created a hot mix asphalt, regulation size, space for basketball. I mean, or some, I don't know how big you would want it.
Playing in the street.
I understand because
And
there's more places
They
in
are
this Valencia to do that.
disrupting the neighborhood. We have to at least try to come up with a solution. If somebody says to me, you can't put a concrete pad in the, you know, behind the neighborhood where the playground was, then tell me why.
Well, I can make it simple for the board.
Okay.
All they have to do is direct the administrator to erect a, basketball court out in that field that we own, and it'll be done.
Then why,
Cause I don't have any budget or anything to do that. So you would have to do a budget amendment or something.
or could we find out what it would be to put a concrete pad out there? And Charles, I'm gonna defer back to you.
Asphalt would be a lot cheaper.
What would, okay, asphalt.
Yeah, asphalt, 'cause you have to dig it out and put stone down.
What do you think as far as the size? I'm just thinking, well, I don't think they care. As long as and then they were directed, your basketball hoops have to be put back on that slab or you don't play with them at all. They'll have to be removed. I don't think we should just take the basketball things away from these kids. It's their relaxation, it's their enjoyment. It's something that they can do after school or on weekends. I like to help them be able to do it, just not in the streets. That's all.
Gene, you had a comment?
I had a question. So it might not be a bad idea to survey the neighbors, the neighborhood. The question is, would it be appropriate for the town to place, a hard surface in the playground area for the portable nets? So we're not putting nets up, we're gonna use our portable nets. Parking, are we providing parking?
No.
Okay, so then, because one of my concerns would have been if you built a basketball court with parking, you may be bringing people in that don't live there.
No, I'm just wondering if there's a way.
To just the site to do, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know how big it would need to be. I don't see a regulation size for it necessary, but that's my personal opinion. I mean, I don't know.
But,
What your thoughts are.
but, you know, also, most of those are rentals out there, so I guess that letter written would be written to the owner. Would you think, Jim? I mean, you got kids out there playing, but they're also playing because their parents rent a place out there. But that allow a renter to get a decision for the permanency, as long as the neighborhood's gonna be there.
Right, although the folks living there would have more of an intimate knowledge of what's going on there.
True.
Well, whatever we need to do to fix the problem. I don't remember that. I remember there being playground equipment.
There was a pad back there. Maybe all we have to do is revitalize or rehabilitate the pad. And what you're saying, you're just gonna say, right now they got the portable basketball in the road and it's causing a lot of hardship with the rest of the neighbors. So if they wanna take their portable basketball and put it on the pad is all we're asking them to do.
Play there or don't play at all.
I can't think of the area. It's up off Delancey, you say?
The Lansing building, and it's behind the units.
Well, farms.
Yeah, so Lou, could you take a look and see if there is a pad out there? I think there's a pad years ago. I really
I'm
do.
not sure where the playground equipment was set on fire, whether that was on an actual pad or not. I have to look. Usually you wouldn't do that,
That was a long
because of
time
the,
ago.
yeah, that's when, man, wait, when I was the administrator then. So, a long time ago. So anyway, I'll look into it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anything else, please?
Um, Yeah, trash collection. Rob and I were talking about when they pick up the regular trash and they're recycled. We kind of have noticed that they're just picking up trash. They're just mixing it, and isn't that like causing us a considerable amount of cost if they are mixing
If it's
it?
mixed, ends up in a landfill
Right,
thing.
right.
No,
And then we pay for it.
we end up paying extra.
Well, more than we would have had been recycled.
Is it a lot more?
I don't have the rates in front
Whatever
of
the
me.
tonnage is, whatever the ton. Cause they don't like this, to set that load. If it comes in and it's a mixed load, it goes right to the landfill and then it charges for the
The
ton.
recyclable truck had went through, and when I drive through the neighborhood, there's still recyclable stuff sitting there. Or vice versa. I don't know if they are even paying attention to what they're picking up. I think I'm concerned that they're just picking it
Well, I
up.
think
They don't-
Republic will be a
We'll be
little,
gone in 3 weeks.
Huh?
I think Republic is, they're gonna be a little more discriminatory in what they
Well-
do than, Waste Management.
They better be.
But
I think they are
what?
more, they're gonna be more conscientious about what they pick up, because they're gonna have a container for just
Oh, I know,
recycling.
I'm just wondering.
They're actually doing all that.
We have a whole month to go and then just mixing trash. I mean, if that's gonna be-
We've got 4,600 different places we pick up. I don't have time to check.
Can we ask him, like, for instance, hypothetically, can we ask him to suspend the recyclable and just pick up everything as trash for the rest of the contract? I mean, I don't even know.
I don't know how they would do that.
Okay,
They'll pick it up according to the contract, and that's how they're paid, so.
well, if they would, then,
Amend the contract for 24 days. And
okay.
Have we been notified the night of the trick or treat, by the county yet?
I've not talked to the county, but it's historically been the 31st.
Very good. And that'd be a Tuesday? Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. It is a Tuesday. Okay, so hopefully, it'll be the Tuesday night, but we'll have a report on that soon.
When's the Halloween parade?
The Halloween parade is on the 20th.
With the rain date on the 27th, and you'll wanna see the mayor's in costume.
Superhero. Done.
Aw.
I'm dressing up as myself.
That's
So,
not what you told me.
yeah, well, listen, we had a shooting over at Buck Hill Farms. A random firing of a weapon. And I know that, they're real close. I think they had one, suspect but I know they're suspects, that they're soon to make an arrest, but the folks that live back there on that cul-de-sac were telling me that they had asked for a light, on that cul-de-sac prior to, and I haven't been back there in a while to,
Southland Drive.
what's,
Are you talking about where Danforth connects with Southland? That's a cul-de-sac back there.
it's not Danford, it's, Buck Hill Farms, that would be
So they have to.
Tartan, it was South Tartan, at the end of South Tartan, there's a cul-de-sac. Your brother lives on South Tartan. And do you know the name of that cul-de-sac there?
No.
I'll get a little bit more details. I should have wrote it down, but they say that that cul-de-sac needs to be lit up. Because they said that's where the folks cut across.
Yeah.
It's in the cul-de-sac between two houses there. And, I'll take a look at that, or maybe we can take a look at it and see, specifically where that's at. But I think we looked at it a few years ago and we made a decision not to. But in light of, this second, situation, I think we should probably take another look at that. I had a few of our town employees ask me about, when are we gonna make a decision on, whether we're gonna, change the charter amendment or have it go to the people and, put it on the ballot. I know Lou has, asked, I think, Waitford Taylor for clarification of the language, and we haven't received that yet. There was, just so the board is aware, there was a comment made by council at Waitford and Taylor that he thought that there was a Maryland law in place that allowed,
It didn't apply.
but it didn't apply. So there was a new law that pertained to like Cecil, or to the colleges, and pertained to the hospitals,
State employees. Yeah.
state employees, but it didn't include municipalities. That they could have been allowed by right. It was a state law. It took a place, I think, was in May,
Probably July 1.
July.
Usually it's legislation.
So there was a little bit, just to let the employees know, we were going down that road for them also, and it came back that the state of Maryland didn't approve municipalities to be allowed by right. So they kind of confirmed that it should be done by, in my view, by, let's say, per se, by an election. So Lou is getting the language. We still don't know what the language is, but you made, the staff has made a recommendation to put this on the ballot. Is that correct?
Correct.
So
That's be May 14, 2024.
I'm not asking for a vote today, but I think that we owe our employees a vote next meeting or the following meeting, of what direction we're gonna go. And we'll have that language by then.
You want the language first?
I think we need to have the language. Okay. You good with that? You guys are good with that? Okay. That's all I have. This is, the time we open up the floor for anyone that has anything to do for the town of Elkton. Anyone have? Pat,
I just have a question, and maybe.
give me your address again.
137 Milestone Road, Elkton. This would probably do to Earl, when we talk about, the children playing basketball in the street. And it sounded like you're going back and forth, like they need a full court built or whatever. Would a half court suffice for the kids to be able to go someplace and play ball? Simply because if they're playing in the street now, then I would think that, half court might suffice.
My opinion would be yes, you guys will the issue.
A half court would be sufficient, because if you own a basketball court, you just drag it there and you play there. And then when you're done, you take the court back home. Because, it can be 2 or 3 courts out there in that area, wherever it might be. And on a given day, Johnny may not be down the street, so I'll just grab mine and go out there and play. And once kids get out there, they pretty much are well behaved on, the participants out there and everything else.
And I think it does give the ability for us then at that point to say, listen, can't play in the streets.
Yeah.
There's your spot.
One of the issues we have to consider, the board considers that, there'll be no light out there.
That's okay.
Because that in the winter time, of course, get dark 5 o'clock and whatever, so my instincts are that they'll want to play basketball after 5 o'clock.
If you look at the community center, there's a court out there right now, and it was put out there when Jim Krause was, the mayor. And I think there was a KK march that was back way when, and they were trying to divert attention from the parade that was on the street, so they had the police and a whole bunch of people to go out there and play. Well, that same court is still out there. But then after that was over, then the tenants of Booth Street complained about the kids making noise, which has not been the same since, because now you've got a lot of kids out there to the community center. So even last night, it was volleyball night over there, and there were some kids in the back on the court. They had their own basket and they played basketball.
I think, the Grapes Paving put that in out there in the
It's
Board
still there.
of, Board of Education field.
Right.
And, of course, it was vandalized several times.
So it would be the same situation if we were to put a court out there where you're talking about it, or wherever. It's just want someplace to
And I'm
play.
kind of thinking there is one out there that just need to be reconditioned.
Right.
I mean, if we just gave them an option,
I think
say,
you're right.
look, we're working with you here, with the neighborhood, we're trying to help you out. And the kids can play there all they want. They're not gonna play, just not in the street, we have to implement that rule out of the street.
To my understanding, there was over 20 people that played pickleball last evening at Marina Park, and tonight there's going to be another group of 16. So
There's always a crowd out there.
yeah, so it's going good. Getting a lot of action out there, which is
The lights are
nice. The lights are. Dan's got the lights working on Tuesday, and I asked him to do Wednesday also to accommodate that. So it'll be Wednesday and Thursday.
Speaking of Marina Park, I put my kayaks in down there on Sunday, and, man, that's a really nice ramp that they have. I wish more people know about it.
It's a nice ramp.
That creek is beautiful.
It is a nice ramp. Okay, anyone else have anything? Alicia?
We brought up the Halloween parade, it's on the 20th, with the rain date on the 27th, but to note, we worked with the police department to have the route changed. So we're not gonna be starting on Tower Street anymore, we're actually starting at the courthouse and going out High Street, North Street, and Main Street, and going on Green Lane, right lane. So that's of note because forever, that's the route has been what it has been, so I wanna make sure that everybody's aware of that. And then following, we talked about trick or treat with the county, but following the parade, we'll have trick or treat on Main Street and North Street for any businesses and merchants that want to hand out candy.
So what's your new route again?
We start out, staging is behind the courthouse off of High Street. So we'll come out of High Street, we'll make a left on North Street, left on Main Street, and a left on Bruce Lane and come back to it.
Nice.
And we've already had significant amount of sign-ups for people in the parade, so it's been really tough.
All right, who's next?
Well, I'm sorry. We also, for some people may not realize that this year, we are requesting if, the participants in the Halloween parade, if they go online and pre-register.
No on-site registration.
no on-site registration. And people that register will be eligible for both the judges. Okay, people that just march in the parade that did not pre-register, they just don't have a number, but they will be allowed to march in the parade without any judge.
Perfect. Anything else?
Alicia, did you send us a memo and I never acknowledged it about a book stand or free library or something? What was that? Would you mind?
I would like to put, a free library like the Arts Council has in front of their buildings. I would love to put one out in front of the Elkton Alliance building, that folks can borrow books from, take one, leave one, that kind of thing. And I just wanted to know, I wanted to see what your thoughts were, but also see if there were any requirements for, digging and having one put into the ground, et cetera.
It's always a good idea. It's worked at places. It wouldn't be, as far as I'm concerned, if the developers here, but it'd be worth starting, but I don't know about digging in the ground or anything like that. You know what that is, don't you, go see what you look about?
The, Family Support and Education Center, Hollingsworth Manor, has they have a thing like that where you put books in, take books out, but that allows, people that are interested in reading from actual paper pages, to have access to those materials.
There's one at the Help Center. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Right there.
So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or anybody is handy and wants to build one for us, but, just wanted to throw the idea out there as a little bit of community building for Main Street.
Thank you. Let's continue to give it a little thought and take a look at the
Well,
location.
if you put anything in the ground, just a matter of Public Works will have to contact, Mr. Hillary.
We'll take care of it.
I'm sorry,
We'll take care of the locate.
somebody talking?
They're Van Manley.
Oh, I didn't see you there.
Now, you built, you point, we'll take care of it. You show us what's what.
There you go. Problem solved.
All right, and you raised your hand up. You're next.
In regards back to the water and sewer rates, and you had mentioned about getting it out to the residents. What about putting it on Facebook or the town's website page well in advance of when that first bill is gonna hit them? Because us in the finance office, we're the ones that are gonna get hammered with
Yes.
calls. And the more we put out there before they get that first bill, it's gonna not take away all the phone calls, but just would help, because we have a lot of people that have issues now paying their bills, and we hear all the stories and everything, and anything at all to help them possibly pre-plan or anything.
I think it's a great suggestion. Let's,
I'm already on,
I'm sorry. Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else today? Mr. Mueller?
Good to be back to the town meeting.
Yes.
So I want to give you a monthly update from the fire company. Last month, we responded to 107 fire alarms. 75 of those were in the town. 27 were false alarms. You guys worked with us earlier this year to adopt an ordinance to that effect, so we've been communicating and working on that process. But out of 107 alarms, 75 were in town. We have 479 EMS calls. We did take possession of our 5th ambulance. That is some of those funds that you guys who graciously gave us from ARPA were applied to that purchase process. So it will be in service very soon. And be able to help us out. We did also receive word that we received an assistance of firefighters grant. If you're not familiar with those, it's through FEMA and Department of Homeland Security. We were part of a regional grant put together by the Cecil County Fire Chiefs. There were 5 companies that came together and did a regional grant, and they got 78 sets of full set of turnout gear to split between the 5 companies. Okay. So the companies came together, did some grant work, and anytime you get grant money, it's a bonus.
Does that include air tanks too?
No, it
Or
includes,
just a guard?
it just includes head to toe, so helmets, hoods, gloves, jackets, turnout pants.
And it's very expensive, isn't it?
You're pushing around $2,500.
That's what,
Head to toe per person, so that was a nice chunk of money. And it'll be split, they're still working on who's getting how many out of that total number. My guess is we probably end up getting a dozen sets, but that's a dozen sets that more than we had before, so we'll take that. We did have, as you're well aware, the multi-alarm fire on Bridge Street. During that process, we did take some iron deposits that went through our engine fire pump. Okay, there were 4 companies that were pumping at the scene that had similar experiences coming from the water system. The engine, our engine that was doing that process, it's been out of service since the fire. They had it sent out to have the pump checked. Because what can happen if you have those deposits go through, you can score the pump. And essentially, the pump would have to be rebuilt because it would be less effective.
So it's coming from our water out of our hydrants.
So I did get a report today through the deputy chief that's coordinating that with them. We're getting the engine back. It's going to be back in service now. Based on the tests that they ran, there is some damage, but it's not significant to place it out of service and have to have the pump rebuilt. So that's partially good news. We're not going to be down and going to have it repaired and incur that cost. But what's concerning is that material. But I know the chief and her staff are working, they're in contact with Public Works about the water system and flushing and testing and trying to figure out what can happen.
Do you know how many gallons got drawn out of that system during that fight?
Yeah, I'm waiting for those numbers to come as well. How much fire flow we did have. I do know there have been conversations to make sure everyone's on the same page because there seemed to be a delay in the time that the fire pump was requested to be on to the time that it got turned on. And then how much capacity we're actually able to pull and flow. They did have.
That was me. Is that one hydrant we're talking about? Or-
They pulled from 2 different hydrants.
Okay.
My understanding was they were from 2 different loops, but they were still fed by the same fire pump. But they had 4 master streams set up, but they were not able to use them. They had to toggle the operation because they couldn't get the flow they needed for all of them to go in service at the same time. So it took the operation a little bit longer, but they made the adjustment. So now we're going back to look and see, is there something that's wrong? Do we need to try to figure out a way to get a greater capacity or look at those issues? That way we can address them proactively.
So was I saw a social media post that said that there was a call for more pressure.
Yep.
And so do you call our police department and then they contact the Infomark, or how does that work? I don't know.
well, you have to contact the water plant and find out if they have the pumps running, to pump into the system. But they can, I don't know,
If there's
during that
someone in
fire
the-
event, because that was like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, so
Could have been somebody there, but, also depends on how much the elevation is in the Blue Ball Tower too. You got 500,000 gallons. Fire truck pumps, 1,500 gallons a minute or something. They can suck that tower down, and then you have Gore and Rumo and everybody else going from it too, so you can have a deficiency in that tower if a big fire is going on for any length of time.
Yeah, especially the master streams, but there were 4 engines that were pumping that day, Northeast, Perryville, Charlestown, ours. Each were flowing 1,500 gallons per minute, and the fire pump was only providing 1,100 additional. There's a rating. So I think that's what they're going back to look at and see, how might we be able to address that in the future?
Okay.
Or if there was an actual deficiency or,
Well, we'd certainly like to know.
Sure. I can address that. During
Go ahead, Dan.
During the fire, my one car guy was representative out there, so he was actually, monitoring the pressures, all that stuff. What the fire company has to realize is, our water plant produces 1,500 gallons a minute. So when you get a lot of things hooked up, if you go for more than 25, it's detrimental. So that's why we try to maintain what we have to a point. But it gets to a point, my guy Ned Ramey was out there, he was talking to the water plant itself to know what was going on. We monitor, and then we get back to the fire company saying, hey, there's so much we can do. But that's what you have. Our limitation is about 1,500 gallons a minute.
So it might have been that the tower was maybe depleted, so we were just relying on that pump flow. Might have been the issue, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. But we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, the part about destroying the pump, that's
I mean,
very
would that be the
concerning.
hydrant or?
So the system itself, it could be built up, well, that's one of the reasons why DPW goes out and does flushing. They flush the system out, and I think once or twice a year, sometimes they flow test, but they keep deposits and things from building, in the system. The other 3 fire companies I listed, they experienced the same thing. They did not confirm that they were having their pumps tested or if they had damage, that they had to have repaired, et cetera. So it's an ongoing conversation, but it was noticed at the scene, as they were flowing water, some of it actually went through some of the streams as well. And
It would be nice to know what that schedule is. I mean, we do have a schedule, right?
Yep.
And that we're adhered to it.
Because that also, those documents of the flushing and the flowing and the testing, also when ISO comes out to do our rating as a department, they look at those records from Public Works and say, hey, they test them regularly, here's your rating. So
Okay.
that's a good thing as well.
Thank you.
We have our annual trunk or treat at the firehouse on October 27th, which is the rain date, right?
It's not gonna rain, so that's you're fine.
Good, I like it. At 7 p.m. Last year was our first year doing the trunk or treat. We were overwhelmed by the amount of people from town that came over. The line backed up all the way past the library. It was a great thing. So this year, we are a little bit more prepared with more candy. I'm sure we'll run out again and try to get more, but we're excited about that on October 27th.
At what time?
7 p.m. I know Elkton Police Department participated last year with us, and it was a great venture, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. Last thing I did want to talk about to the board, so I know I have missed a couple meetings, and our representative that was here, there was some conversation and some suggestions by that representative about certain actions, and maybe there were some things that were said or pushed for the board to take certain actions. On behalf of the board of directors, that was not what was supposed to happen. That was not a direction that he was authorized to go. So I'm here as your primary representative of the fire as the first vice president. If I'm not here or we need to address or you need something from us, Mr. Don Hicks, the second vice president, we are your chief points of contact. Okay. This board has been wonderful. The administration, Mr. George, Michelle, have been great. Finally opening up the dialogue and having that working symbiotic relationship that fire department can affect. As a community, we're all here together to do the right thing to support the community. Then Elktonians in first. And love it here and proud of our town, proud of us working together to overcome challenges. Funding's a challenge, and you guys have been, a lot's been thrust on you between down water and sewer, the trash, and who knows what's coming next. It's a lot to weigh, it's a lot to balance, but we all have to give and take in order for us to have a successful community.
Yep.
And we're here as your partners, the fire company. There are things that we need, but we also have to know that we are part of the community. We're gonna have to give up things, we're gonna have to work on things, but we're here, we're not going anywhere. We're gonna work hard to ensure that we don't go anywhere, and that service is provided. So as we go through and look at budgets, things that you can do to help us to increase funding and meet the need, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have those conversations. And no one should be bullied or pressed to make a decision and not ready to. This is a partnership. So,
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
that's what we're here for, and we're family, we're community.
We are.
We depend on each other.
No question.
So, thank you all very much.
Thank you. I wanted to address something. I spoke to H&B Plumbing, and it might be something we want to take a look at the building that was on fire. I guess they were over there doing some work with some laterals, and he said that there was, water lines all over the place that doesn't appear to be in our system. And he said that there were some lines that were so close to natural gas lines that he knows that they were not put in by a contractor per se. So what he was, so I don't know if it's all.
Dan on the line said, Mark, they can explore that over there.
Yeah, that'd be good, because it sounded to me like there might have been some lines that weren't supposed to be in those positions, and now you're talking about pulling some debris. And who knows what they were being pulled out of, right? And so I wanted to address that. And secondly, another social media post was the town of Elkton wasn't doing a very good job with the porta-johns at Meadow Park. And I just want to let everyone know here on the board that I researched it. We clean those porta-johns every Thursday. So if an event is on a Friday or a Saturday, hopefully the norm is they're a little bit cleaner than they would be on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But there was a lady that on Saturday with the junior football that was going on down there made a post that the porta-johns weren't very clean. Well, there was really nothing we can do. I just wanted everyone to know that they are cleaned every Thursday. And I don't think that we want to clean them twice a week. I don't think there's a need to clean those units twice a week. So they are cleaned every Thursday if you get asked. With that, anyone else for the good of the town? Anyone on Zoom for the good of the town? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.